Hiruzen stuttered as Naruto walked up to the frame. The occupants of the room watched curiously, wanting to see what Naruto would do. Naruto gazed into the stone-cold eyes of his father. The same eyes that sent enemies running in the opposite direction, and the same ones that he was sure that were full of love when he was brought into this world. "I'll make you proud," he whispered so softly that even a dog present in the room would have been hard-pressed to hear it. Then, as if a switch had been flipped, he turned back grinning. "So, now that I'm a Jonin, I have a question for you, Kakashi-sensei." Kakashi smiled. You don't really have to call me sensei anymore, we're equals now, as you said." Asuma grinned and gave him a thumbs up. "Same here, Naruto." Naruto bit the inside of his mouth. "Alright, Kakashi it is." What burden of the Jonin position was Asuma talking about? Kakashi raised a stunned eyebrow in response. "Well, you see, Asuma can tell you." Asuma sputtered, being suddenly shoved into spotlight. "What?" Well, the burden is quite large." Naruto smirked and folded his hands, while Shikamaru looked on curiously. Hiruzen just put his hands behind his back and enjoyed the show. He knew that Kakashi just lazed around all day and read Ika Ika, while Asuma just played shogi with Shikamaru majority of the time while the rest of his team trained. The time that was left was spent with Kurenai. Naruto waved a hand. "Never mind, I'll see it for myself." Putting a hand around Shikamaru's shoulders, he guided the shadow user to the door. "Come on, Shikamaru. We've got to rub this in everyone's faces." The two dead lasts were the first to become Chunin and Jonin. Shikamaru tried to get Naruto's arm off his shoulder. "Let go of me, you blonde, troublesome bastard. This is all your fault." "Really? How come you're not happy at your promotion?" "Promotion means there is only more work that I would have to do." As the two bickered and walked away, Asuma took a deep breath of his stick and exhaled. "Wow, that was a close one." Kakashi shook his head. "He really gets you with his comments sometimes." "Actually, he may just have hit the nail on the head," Hiruzen piped in. "You two really don't look like you have a burden." Both of them turned at him, annoyed. "You really can't say anything, Hokage-sama." "Your burden increases each second," Kakashi said, pointing to the growing paperwork. Hiruzen grinded his teeth in frustration. Where in the 7 levels of hell is this coming from? Construction site. It was break time, and the rookies were all sitting together, eating their lunches. Ino and chatting with each other, for once not obsessing over Sasuke. Hinata was shyly eating her lunch as well, making small conversation with Tenten beside her. Lee wasn't sitting with the rookies, opting to sit with Gai-sensei. Kiba was animatedly chatting with Chuji, with Shino quietly sitting beside them and speaking in between sometimes. Sasuke sat a bit further from the group, eating slowly while in deep thought, but not completely unaware of the group's conversation. And then he unleashed a huge tornado of water out of thin air. "Can you believe that?" Chuji vigorously nodded as he finished off the last item of his lunch. "I never knew Naruto had such a high affinity for water." "We don't know many things about Naruto." "Why?" "Because Naruto hid his true strength from us all this time." However, from his performance in the Chunin exams, it is likely that Naruto is Jonin level at least, Shino pitched in. Kiba scratched his chin. "For once, I agree with you." "Speaking of Naruto, he has been gone for a while." "Where is he?" Chuji spoke up in agreement. "Now that I think about it, even Shikamaru has been gone for a while." Their conversation attracted others' attention. Hinata, Tenten and Sakura looked at them curiously, while Ino was more vocal in her curiosity. "Yeah, where is that deadweight? He must be slacking off, leaving all the work to us." Shino pushed up his glasses. "Not likely. That's because Asuma-sensei and Kakashi-sensei are absent from here as well." Ino huffed and crossed her arms. "Asuma-sensei is no better sometimes. And I haven't heard any better about Kakashi-sensei from Sakura." Sakura nodded. "True, Kakashi-sensei is perhaps the laziest person I have seen. But Naruto never slacks off, like ever." "Ayano and Naruto-kun is very hard-working," Hinata meekly said, poking her fingers and blushing at merely the thought of the blonde. "Wow, people are talking about me even though I just got promoted." The eyes of all the rookies widened when the familiar voice caught them off guard. It came from above them, so they turned to look and promptly dropped their jaws. There stood Naruto and Shikamaru, in flak jackets. Naruto had his arm around a grumbling Shikamaru. That was the first thing that everyone noticed. "Why, you went to get promoted?" Naruto chuckled at Ino's stutter, and they both dropped down in front of them, allowing the rookies to get a better look at the two of them. Shikamaru now wore a light green vest over his clothes, a mark of his new rank as a chunin. However, what perplexed them was that Naruto was wearing a similar vest, but instead of light green, it was a darker shade. Sakura smiled at them. "So you are now a chunin, huh, Naruto?" Naruto looked like he was barely keeping from grinning full out. "Not exactly. Hokage-sama saw fit to promote me straight to Jonin." "Ha!" That was the exclamation that came from Ino, Sakura, and Kiba. Shikamaru scowled and shrugged Naruto's arm off, walking to join a gaping Chuji. As always, Shino was unperturbed. Hinata blushed a darker shade of red upon seeing how good Naruto looked in the jacket. "You got promoted straight to Jonin? Is that even possible? No fair." Of course, Naruto patiently answered the questions and accepted the congratulations. Apparently, Shikamaru's promotion was not that interesting as Naruto's. He looked over to Sasuke, who was carefully looking at him. Sasuke felt a twinge of jealousy course through him when he saw that Naruto had been promoted straight to Jonin, but nothing more than that. Rational thought took over and he realized that Naruto only got what he deserved. Naruto deserved more than Chunin, and Sasuke didn't know whether to feel happy for his friend or disgusted with himself for being so weak. "Congratulations," he reluctantly said, not meeting Naruto's smirking face. "You may be strong now, Naruto, but don't think you'll remain the strongest. I'll be damned if I let you get ahead of me anymore. I heard you beat Gaara, Naruto. Neji didn't stand a chance in the first place, did he?" Tenten asked with a sad smile. Naruto mirrored her expression. "No, he didn't." Naruto turned to Sakura, who just smiled and gave him a warm hug. Because Naruto was 5 inches taller than her, his chin rested on her head. "I'm happy for you, Naruto," she said softly. She knew Naruto would go far. All she could do for him is support him. Naruto returned the hug with a smile. "I'm so glad that you do." Naruto released the hug and looked towards Hinata, who froze at the gentle smile on his face. Naruto mentally chuckled. He wasn't stupid, he knew Hinata had a huge crush on him since the beginning of Academy. He only made the connection from their interactions that Hinata liked him recently, after he first kissed Temari. "Sorry, Hinata, that I could not return your feelings. My heart belongs to Temari now. You deserve someone who will understand and return your feelings. Someone better than me." He walked over to Hinata, stopping right in front of her. He knew that if he grabbed her in a hug as well, she might very well faint. "Hinata," he smiled, "you look a bit under the heat. Are you well?" Hinata only turned redder. "Why yes, and Naruto-kun. See, congratulations on your promotion." Naruto chuckled. She was just too easy to embarrass, something he might have to break her out of. He then noticed Ino sauntering up to him, squeezing his arm. "So, Naruto, now that you have become a Jonin, what will you do?" Naruto rose an eyebrow. This wasn't how Ino usually behaved with him, invading his personal space. He rather preferred Temari's touch rather than Ino's. "It's better that you stick to Sasuke, Ino." He gently removed her arm. Ino pouted. "You're no fun at all." Then suddenly, she narrowed her eyes, scrutinizing him. "What's wrong?" His words were met with silence as she continued studying his face intensely. Several seconds later, she finally spoke in a murmur. "You really do look like him." He was not expecting that. "What?" "The Yondaime Hokage," she emphasized. Shikamaru yawned from behind her. "Of course he would, you troublesome blonde. They are father and son." Ino's eyebrow twitched as she slowly turned around. "What the hell, Shikamaru?" "All right everyone, break's over. Get back to work," Naruto announced. He was perplexed when he saw everyone looking at him oddly. "What?" Kiba pointed a finger at him. don't go ordering us, team. Naruto scared and shook his finger side to side, as if addressing a child. Be careful how you speak, Kiba. As your superior, you have no choice but to follow my orders. Kiba sputtered angrily, but reluctantly got up from his spot along with everyone. Shikamaru walked up to Naruto with a smirk. Should you really be doing that, right after you've been promoted? Naruto gave him a puzzled look as he walked over to a pile of rubble himself. What are you talking about? I'm simply doing my duty as a jonin of this village. You get to work as well, Shika. Shikamaru scoffed, but turned around and headed to work as well. Good thing he's working as well, or I would have socked him in the jaw, he muttered. Flashback end. The next 4 days passed interestingly. News of his promotion to jonin seemed to have spread overnight, and the next morning when he reported for work, every person that he met was congratulating him. The most annoying thing about it was that they addressed him as Namake-sama, or Uzumaki-sama once he corrected them. His natural smile had become totally forced after he was congratulated by the 20th person in the same manner. Eventually, he just used Shunshin to reach his destination, but even their people were present just to congratulate him. It eventually became so annoying that he had to excuse himself to the Hokage's office. Man, if this is what celebrities have to deal with, I feel sorry for them, Naruto muttered as he sat in front of Hiruzen. The old man simply chuckled as he continued doing the paperwork in front of him. For once, he enjoyed doing the verbose bullshit. Naruto being the source of amusement might have been a factor. Better get used to it, for in the future, things will only grow, Hiruzen countered while signing another form. Naruto gave a sigh of frustration. Right now, I want to put all my efforts into rebuilding the village. It's not helping if the people start talking to my shadow clones as well. Hiruzen lifted his face to look at the blonde. Intense frustration was radiating from him. His muscles were all tight, shoulders tensed up. The boy looked like if someone congratulated him right now, he would probably coil up like a spring with tension. Then perhaps you would like a diversion? Naruto rose an eyebrow. I could use a diversion. Hiruzen got up from his chair and walked towards Minato's photo frame. Naruto watched curiously as Hiruzen sped through hand signs and pressed his hand on the frame. A click sounded and the frame opened up into some sort of safe. After pressing some keys, the safe opened up and Hiruzen pulled out a scroll. He closed the frame and blew air on the scroll to get rid of the dust. This is something that the Yondaime entrusted me with. I believe it belongs to you, he said as he passed it on to Naruto. Naruto recognized the blood seal right away. Cutting his thumb, he swiped it across the seal. He expected it to be a storage seal, but instead of an object, writing became visible. Those look like instructions to reach certain places. Naruto hummed in agreement as he studied the coordinates. As he studied them some more, making numerous calculations in his head, pieces of a puzzle started to come together. They were written in a way that no ordinary shinobi could crack. Only someone armed with the knowledge of the sealing arts could solve the puzzle to these. 9 coordinates in total. Each in a specific location and direction in relation to the village. He abruptly stood up. I'll take my leave, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen watched Naruto leave with a pensive look. Even he did not know what was on that scroll. He resumed his paperwork. Perhaps Naruto may see it fit to tell him. XXXXXXX. Naruto sat down just outside the village gates, shaking his head at how late the man was. He looked over to the gate guards, who were animatedly whispering to each other, not so subtly pointing at him. He scoffed. He had become the talk of the village in such a short time. Nothing new, but it was better than the glares and frowns of the village. He sighed. He never knew Jiraiya had it in him to be late. Considering he was the one who approached him for this mission. Flashback, yesterday he had just returned from his investigation of the coordinates on the scroll. He flashed directly back into his apartment, and damn near killed the intruder standing before me. Oi, it's me. Naruto stopped slashing the kunai, Arosenin. Jiraiya groaned, what will it take you to call me by my proper name? Naruto shrugged and put his kunai away. Serious situations, I guess. Besides, I don't see what's wrong with having an affectionate term to call my godfather. Jiraiya snorted as he sat back down on the couch, affectionate, my ass. Naruto removed his shoes and went for some water. Anyways, would you care to explain why you broke the security seals to my apartment? You really ought to improve up on that amateur job. I know you are capable of doing better. Naruto huffed, those seals are meant to stop normal shinobi and civilians, not a seal master like you. And you haven't answered my question. Jiraiya suddenly grinned, brat, you made Jonin on your first try into the Chunin exams. I'm damn proud of you. I heard the tale from Sarutobi-sensei. Defeating a Jinchuriki all by yourself and then sending my old teammate running with his tail between his legs right after defeating the said Jinchuriki. That I'm so proud of you, and your parents would be too. Naruto smiled at the enthusiastic man, I'm sure they are. Now why are you here? At once, Jiraiya's expression turned serious, I've got a mission of utmost importance, and I want you to come with me. Naruto sat down across from his godfather, what's the mission? To find the future Hokage of the village and bring her back. Naruto did not say anything immediately. He thought over it for a few seconds. A female Hokage? Out of the village? There was only one female who came to Naruto's mind as he thought of the circumstances. Are we, by any chance, going to retrieve Senju Tsunade? Jiraiya seemed taken aback, why yeah, but how did you know who we were to retrieve? Naruto shrugged, come on, it's really not that hard to figure out. A female candidate, absent from the village and strong enough to be considered for the position of the Hokage? There is only one Konoha Kunoichi that fits that description, and it's Senju Tsunade. Jiraiya shook his head, you really know your facts, don't you? Most of your generation doesn't even know about us. Naruto rubbed his neck sheepishly and chuckled, I like reading is all. Then he turned serious and asked, even if I agree to come with you, what's in it for me? I'll teach you a new jutsu rank, some really good stuff. Naruto wasn't impressed, is that all? Just one? Brat, this jutsu is really not your average jutsu. But just because I'm such a generous man, I'll throw in one or two more for you. You good with that? Well, I guess I can't say no to a Sannin. When do we leave? Tomorrow, 1 in the afternoon. Oh, and before I forget, we have to talk about one more thing on this mission, Jiraiya grinned. What's that? But the man was already gone. Naruto shook his head. He had better get some rest for tomorrow's mission. Flashback and wake up, brat. Naruto slowly opened his eyes to see Jiraiya standing in front of him, an impatient look on his face. This is no time for sleeping. Naruto snorted loudly and got up, you're the one to talk. I've been here since 1. It's 2 now, you're late. Jiraiya folded his hands defensively, I was collecting some very important, last-minute information. For your book, Naruto mumbled as he began walking. Hey, watch it. And it's a wonder how you managed to stretch your last minute into an hour, Naruto continued, neatly dodging the blow to his head.